This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good Tavach. I'm very honored to be here with my good friend Rabbi Jonathan Siegel of the Amsterdam community, involved with the Kollel and other important askanas in the city. And we were discussing today, it was a pleasure to meet you this Shabbos, about this idea that we said over on Shavasar B'Tamuz. In a nutshell, the idea is, in preparation for coming here, we're learning a lot about the great Gedolim that lived in the city, most notably Rabbi Yaakov Sasportas and his work, Tzitzas Noivel Tzvi, and all the terrible tragedies that came about as a result of the false Mashiachim throughout history. And I'm just wondering, probably from the greatest disasters in our history were the false Mashiach. Why don't we have a fast day to commemorate these tragedies? And a friend of mine, Rabbi Isaac Yoslevsky, reminded me we had learned from Rabbi Chanan that in his opinion, Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, that when Klal Yisrael made the Egel, the golden calf, which in effect was a false savior, a false Mashiach, and it's a punishment for it is visited upon us in every generation in the form of, in every generation there's a false Mashiach. So in effect, Shavasar B'Tamuz is a fast day to commemorate the false Mashiach. And at the same time, we've said over from the Chazam Sofer, Boaz lived with Rus on Shavasar B'Tamuz. That means Oved was conceived on Shavasar B'Tamuz. So at the same time, Shavasar B'Tamuz is a day that could bring about the possibility for a true Mashiach. And so Zelu Mazeh, the Klipa comes and tries to sully it with the, that's why the Egel HaZahav, and probably why Shabtai Tzvi was insistent on eating on Shavasar B'Tamuz. So Shavasar B'Tamuz, and really the 3 weeks in general, it's a time of really the possibility for the true redemption, and at the same time we're mourning all the false Mashiachs that throughout history. So you shared with me a story today that I was very moved by and appreciative. Could you share it with us?
Yes, really. Pleasure. Okay, so yes, on Yud Zayin B'Tamuz, I was, as usual, listening to Rabbi Glatstein, who I find to be an amazing speaker and with amazing ideas. And I saw this. I came across this shiur. He apparently just put it out when I saw it. It was in the afternoon on Yud Zayin B'Tamuz. As you know, it's a very long fast day here. And
in Amsterdam, when is the fast over?
Yeah, fast is over at 11. This year it was over at 11:03, which was early this year. Okay, okay. So in the late afternoon, I heard this shiur, and it was all about Shabtai Tzvi, and how Rav Yaakov Sasportas fought Shabtai Tzvi, and he was the main opponent of Shabtai Tzvi in the world. And he spoke over there about how Shabtai Tzvi had made a war, basically, on Yud Zayin B'Tamuz and Tisha B'Av, and declared them days of a Yom Tov, and said that it made a decree that we must eat on them. And the Rav brought a drasha about. Okay, thank you very much. And the Rav brought first of all, he said that Shabtai Tzvi made a notrikin of his name. Do you remember how backwards? It's spelled something eating on Tisha B'Av, and he also brought from the pasuk that they exchanged the amiros kvodam betavnish shor ochel esav, and esav is a shivasa b'tamuz. And I immediately thought that actually maybe the pasuk was actually being merames to what Shabtai Tzvi actually did. That he created an egel by saying I'll
tell you when I have this discussion, because just the power of Divrei Torah today, because you said you heard the shiur on Shavasar B'Tamuz.
Right. Yeah. So what happened was, first of all, I have always had a soft spot for Rav Yaakov Sasportas because his yortzeit is the same as my father's yortzeit. So every year I visit his kever on his yortzeit is Dalet Iyar. So I go there every year, and I daven at his kever. When I heard this, I had always known that he had fought Shabtai Tzvi. That I knew. But when I heard the shiur of Rav Glatstein, I didn't realize that he was the main opponent. I didn't realize what a war and what Mesiras Nefesh he did to fight Shabtai Tzvi, and how he was one man against, the whole world, basically, who had succumbed to this terrible cognitive dissonance of wanting to believe something that just wasn't true. And it gave me a new appreciation for what he stood. And then I'm thinking, today is Yud Zayin B'Tamuz, because the Rav just spoke about it, and I'd never realized that it was this war was connected with Yud Zayin B'Tamuz. So I said, I live, it's a 6-minute bike ride from my home to Rabbi Yaakov Sasportas. So I said, why should I not go there? So I decided I have to go there today, and I have to daven his Kever. I was so inspired, and I said, I have to do it today. Yud Zayin B'Tamuz. This was his war. So because of this shiur, I after mincha, it was 9 o'clock, still light outside, still before Shkia, I got on my bike, went there, and was so disappointed that the Beis HaKfaros was locked. And I couldn't get in. But I work with the Kever to Kadisha.
You know your way around.
I know my way around. I was able to get in. I found my way, okay? And I went in, and I davened there for a long time. We have plenty of time in Amsterdam, and it was very meaningful. And it was just, I got, the shiur gave me a new appreciation, a new insight to the whole episode and who this person was. And it's a big nechama to me to know that I have a neighbor 6 minutes away who was such a gadol b'Yisrael.
So just to conclude, I want you to share with me and with the listeners, I know there's some connection between Amsterdam was considered like the Yerushalayim of Europe. What is it?
Yeah, so what I have learned since I've been here is, and this is very interesting, because a lot of the old Dutch people, like it's only in Amsterdam. There were many Yidden that lived in Amsterdam before the war. Like I mentioned today, I got to know a Mr. Rosen who used to daven in the old Lekstraat synagogue, and he could personally tell me he was 18 years old, before the war. He was put in camps, but he told me, that there were 800 people there on a Shabbos morning, 200 out in the street, and there were so many Yidden in Amsterdam. It was at least 1/5 of the city were Yidden. And so just like we find in New York that words creep into the language, like mensch and nash, and these have become American words. So this happened to the language here, especially in Amsterdam, where most of the Yidden lived. And there are certain words, but one of them is very interesting, because the Yidden called Amsterdam Hamokim. That's how they pronounce it. It means the word Hamakom, right? We know that the Beis HaMikdash and Yerushalayim are called Hamakom, and there's a reason for that. The Moral explains, because it's Makom Shalolam, it's the Makayim of the world. Makom is the world Makayim, and it's the Makayim of the world. But that's why it's called that. But Lamaisa, Yerushalayim is called Hamakom, and so Amsterdam was considered the Jerusalem. It was nicknamed the Jerusalem of the West, of Western Europe. So the nickname for Amsterdam was called, they pronounce it with a very Dutch accent, Hamokum. And actually there was some kind of songwriter that made a popular song called Hamokum.
Really?
Yeah. So, and there are other words also, like a prison is called abayis, and 5 is called hey, and there are many words in the old Dutch people. If you say these words, they don't even know what they are. They don't even know they're Yiddish words, but they know these words. It's very interesting.
Rabbi Siegel, we very much appreciate you taking a few minutes to spend with us, and we should both merit together
such an honor to have the Rav in town.
That Amsterdam should be built up to be Erva Envi Yisrael, and we should go back to the real Malkum, which is Yerushalayim. We should be there together with the restoration of Malchus Beis David, Tzayim Haravi, Tzayim HaChamishi, Tzayim HaShiur, Tzayim HaSiri, Yil Beis Yehuda, L'Sasan L'Simcha. Agut Tavach.
Good vach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.